All right, John, thanks for stopping by to do our podcast, our second one.
Ooh.
Exciting.
Okay.
So the idea of this podcast is to welcome people like you that are trying to do, or that are on your path of doing something that's not traditional, so that my audience has a different perspective on career options and things of that nature. So let's start with, tell us about what you do and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is John Victoria. I am the owner of Polianna, which is a digital marketing agency that specializes in driving organic traffic from Google. And so that's a little confusing. Basically what I do is I help local businesses show up number one for Google searches in a nutshell. And so, what I'm passionate about, for me personally, I do love the digital marketing, but I love personal development.
Yeah.
And I love seeing how a person, no matter where they start out, can transform themselves to be whatever they want to be.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's very needed in a lot of kids' life. That's where their paths aren't really clear, and it's helpful to have those kind of guidance. So let's talk a little bit about your background. So talk to me about where you were born, your childhood, your family structure, and maybe your education as well.
Yeah, so I was born in Sasebo, Japan, and
oh, really?
yeah, I was born. So the reason why I was born there is because my dad he joined the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
Both my parents are immigrants from the Philippines, and my dad joined the U.S. Navy. Him and my mom knew each other since they're like elementary school.
Oh, really?
And so, what happened was, they went to high school together, went to college together, and then, once they separated, my dad started sending her letters once he joined the Navy, because my mom left the United States.
Yeah.
And so, they started going back and forth, ended up getting married.
Oh, that's cute.
I was conceived in San Diego, but I was born in Sasebo, Japan.
Oh, I see. Wow.
So, growing up as a military kid, I had to move around a lot. And so I think a lot of that shaped my story because I never really had a place that I could say, this is home.
Yeah.
I moved around a lot, Me personally, I was always more introverted. And so growing up, it was always a little bit tougher to make friends.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of stuff that happened. I think a lot of kids, and myself including, a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you want to do in the world.
Right.
So, one of the things that, of course, with like every Asian kid is like, they're like, you think about becoming a doctor, right? So I was thinking about becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
I remember being like 12, and then I was looking through the research for it, and I was counting the number of years it would take, and I was like, holy cow, that's more than it's 80% of my life.
Always in school. Yeah.
And so, for me personally, growing up, I kind of didn't want to take the traditional doctor path.
Okay.
But then too, I just didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I did mention to you that I had a lot of self-doubt growing up.
Yeah.
And so, we were talking about this earlier, but he has a bookshelf with a bunch of books in the back. But basically a few of these books that were there, these are what started me on my journey.
Yeah.
Because again, when I started, I had my self-image was very low, and I didn't like myself, and I think, I don't know if my mom or my dad would want this on camera, but it's like, they imparted a lot of problems and a lot of self-doubt and those self-esteem issues onto me.
I see.
And so, for me, the reason why I say that I'm passionate about personal development, because that's what transformed me.
Yeah.
I remember doing an exercise when I was a kid. I actually still have the papers in my apartment right now of 23 different traits that I want to be like.
Wow.
And so I was like, I want to be positive, I want to be intelligent, I want to, I want to be a change maker. I had this entire list, I wrote it out, and I read it to myself every day.
Yeah.
And so, and then I got closer to it as time went on.
Right.
And so that's kind of my, it's kind of like my formative years. I then went going to school. I was lucky to be accepted to the United States Naval Academy, which is like the Ivy League school of military schools.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was studying computer science. It was great, but still, my parents, that's kind of what they wanted for me.
So it wasn't not entirely your dream.
No, because we'll think about it this way. So my dad, immigrant, he was enlisted in the Navy. He sees his son go to the most prestigious naval institution. I mean, it's like of course they wanted to channel me that
Yeah.
way because, you know, it's like every parent's pride and dream to have that.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was there. I studied computer science, spun off a few entrepreneurial ventures of my own there. One of the big ones is that with my friend, we built an app together.
Okay.
And we got Chick-fil-A to deliver through us. I think we're the first like third party like thing that Chick-fil-A delivered through.
Wow.
We'll get into that later,
Amazing.
but did that, and then you know, and then I found my way into. I'd known about it for a long time, but I found my way into wanting to start my own business in digital marketing, which I'm doing now, and I actually ended up dropping out. So, you know, instead of, you know, having that piece of paper for my parents, and which is most parents' dreams, didn't do that.
Yeah.
I ended up going off, starting my own business.
Yeah. How was that experience, like making that decision to kind of drop out and make the decision to go all in with your business?
Well, I was there, so for the entire time I was there, I knew that I wanted something else.
Yeah.
You know, then even in addition to my courses, which are very difficult, I was taking courses online. I was learning about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I was reading extra books.
Yeah.
You know, you could ask my roommates there. Like, I would wake up like at 4 or 5, and I would start reading books.
Yeah.
About like stuff like this, like a lot of this personal development stuff. I did that for you know for years. And then for me, I always kind of wanted to do it, but I never thought I'd actually do it. I think the trigger was one of my good friends. His name is John, John Martins. So he's the one I started the app with.
Okay.
It was his idea, but we were helping each other with that.
Yeah.
But so we had a conversation at Chipotle, and we call it our Chipotle conversations because we've had like 3, 4, or 5 of them. Every time we see each other, we go to Chipotle, and we just talk about things. You know, he's a very sharp guy, and we were just reasoning through, you know, should you stay, should you go? This is something you really want to do, and if you feel like you can really do it, you should go for it. And so, you know, I was like, okay, I could do it. And so the particular day that it happened, though, I had that conversation. And then, so it's actually a very weird story. So after our Chipotle conversation, I drove out to the Potomac River, and it was nearby my house at the time. And I parked my car there, and I had a bunch of like paper and, you know, a bunch of pencils, just writing down ideas like, why should I go? Why should I stay? And then, funny enough, like out of the blue, a friend, his name's Richie Sater, one of my also entrepreneurial influences. I haven't heard from him in months. He calls me up. He's like, "Hey, John, and I just want to hear how you're doing." Like at this very critical juncture of my life.
How
and
convenient.
Then, very convenient, right? I start talking through it. I'm like, dude, you know, I think I can do this. And he's like, if you want to do it, you got to go all in. I'm like, okay, I have to go all in. So I'm sitting there, but that's not the even crazier part. So while I'm sitting there too, you know, I'm sitting along the river, and I see one of my best friends from high school, one of the first people I met, rollerblading by with his girlfriend, now wife.
Well, okay.
And so this is random. Like, there's no
connection.
Like, I'm at the Potomac River. I just randomly decided to be here. He comes by and he's like, "Hey man, you know, how's life? You know, what are you up to?" I'm like, you know, I'm making a very critical decision in my life right now. It's so funny that I ran into you. So 3 conversations. And so I end up going to a barbecue with him, talking through it. And then at the end of it, I decide, you know, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go for it. And so I send in my resignation the next day. And so, I mean, I don't know if y'all understand like the gravity of that, but
that's heavy.
Yeah,
it's heavy.
It's pretty heavy because first off, again, my dad, he was Navy, seeing his son, and then saying, "No, F that, I'm not doing any of that." So, yeah.
Wow. So do you think it would have never happened if you didn't have those 3 conversations?
I think those 3 conversations were critical to having to happen, and it was, I don't know how or why it happened that way, but that doesn't happen by chance. Like 3 of those conversations in a day.
Absolutely not.
Like I've never. It's the strangest day I've had in my life. Again, out of the blue. Random phone call. Rollerblading of all places. Rollerblading.
in Potomac Park. I remember. Wow. How was that conversation when you brought that up with your parents?
So it's awkward because I didn't really bring it up to them.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of did it.
Well, so what happened was, so at the Naval Academy, what we have is summer training.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not proud of the way that it played out, but the way that happened was I said to my parents, so I left,
Yeah, okay.
I transitioned out, and I told them, hey, they're just delaying my training right now. I'm at home right now just because, they're slowing stuff down, which I'm not proud of now,
I
but.
see, yeah.
So, during that time I was working, I was going to networking events, and then I remember one day I was up early, and so my mom works night shift, and so she comes home with my dad in the morning.
Yeah.
One day I was just working, and then I remember opening the door, with the security alarm go doo-doo, and then they came in, and then it just felt weird, like there was a different energy in the room.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm just sitting there, I'm like, hey mom, how's it going? And they don't really say anything.
Yeah.
And then my mom's just like to me, like her voice breaks. She's like, John, like, did you leave the academy? And I was like, oh shit, oh God, no. And I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I'm just like, oh, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
And then she's like, we found your letters. And so what happens is that we have to sign off on these separation letters from the military. I was honorably separated. Everyone was happy.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's good that I left.
Yeah.
But she found my papers because I was just lazy about it. I just left the papers around.
Yeah.
And so, my mom. I'm like, yeah, I left. So my mom starts crying, and my dad's like, how could you do this to us? And like storms up, and it just starts yelling back and forth.
Yeah.
How could you do this to us? You were so close.
Yeah.
We just want to see you graduate.
Yeah.
And how could you do this to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, in that moment, you can't really, that decision, even though I said those 3 conversations happened then, I've been thinking about it a very long time.
Yeah.
It was very strategic why I did what I did, but,
Yeah.
It's just very heated, back and forth, everyone's crying,
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's not like happy. It's a very like tough moment for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's a big change, especially for your parents.
Yeah, and my dad said, the reason why he goes to work is just because he just wants to see me graduate. And
Oh my God.
Like
that's
like he's very,
Yeah.
So it's very tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what happened.
How's the conversation now?
Now, I think they understand what I'm doing because I do a lot in business, and they see what I'm doing in the community work
Right,
as well.
you do a lot of community work, especially in the Asian American.
And so we're, just this past Tuesday, Wednesday, I was on the Hill. We're fighting for funding for the Minority Business Development Agency.
Okay, yeah.
They're trying to cut funding from $40 million to $0.
What?
So we're just talking to people, like, guys, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and I was representing the Next Gen, which is part of the Next Gen of Entrepreneurship. It's a group within the Asian Chamber of Entrepreneurship.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Wow. That must have been a lot of pressure to kind of deal with that. Why did they decide to cut it? Do you know?
Well, it's just they proposed. I don't think they're actually gonna cut it. So
that's good. you might need that. Would you say that everyone has to take a similar path as you did in terms of pursuing what they really believe in, or do you think everyone has to assess their own circumstances, especially family dynamics is a huge thing, especially in Asian families. It is in a lot of families, but you have to consider how it's going to affect your family, how it's going to affect your personal life. So do you think, how do you think people should approach that?
Yeah, it's tough because for me, my situation, it was just kind of like, I don't really care what y'all think. Like, this is the path that I'm taking. The reason why I didn't tell them is because they could have stopped me.
Yeah, definitely.
They would have stopped me.
Yeah.
So there's a critical period where it's like you can still get sucked back into the military if things change, you have a different conversation.
Yeah.
And so why I didn't say it is that I didn't want that to happen. I was literally burning the boats in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot take this path anymore.
Yeah.
But for some people, I do think that it is better to do a different way because, even though my parents were very angry with me, they're still supportive.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can stay at home while you build your business, and you can, they still want me to come back home. I'm not living there, but like, you can come back home, you can hang with us. But it's like, for some people, whether it be because of finances, whether it be because, helping out the parents. There's things that will happen that you have to take care of that you can't. It would be a violation of their, sometimes you just have to help out.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I was starting, when I started my business, I proved it first by ranking myself number one in my city, because Google rankings while I was at the Naval Academy. I actually was not supposed to do that because I'm not supposed to start a business. And also we're giving this loan, right? It's called a career starter loan.
Okay.
People use it to just travel. I use it to start a career. I actually use it. What it was called. And so, for some people, I think it is better if you're ready, making money at a job, to first stay there and then make money on the side. And once it can replace it, you can then hop over to what you really want to do and then grow that even more.
Right. Yeah.
Because you need a safety.
Yeah, you don't want to go all in when you have nothing going on, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. So
it worked out.
But the chances are much more slim.
You want to know your own situation very well. That's good. So what do you think are some misconceptions that people have in terms of entrepreneurship? Whether it's people that want to take it or whether it's people that are against it. What do you think are some
misconceptions about entrepreneurs? Well, one of the misconceptions that I'd say is that you don't necessarily need a unique idea. To be honest with you, you don't need to have no one has ever thought of this ever.
Yeah, you don't need the next Facebook.
Yeah, you don't need that. I mean, everyone's like, if I want to be successful, I want to be an entrepreneur. Then they're thinking, they're this trailblazer, and you don't have to be.
Yeah.
So SEO has been around for many years.
Almost 2 decades now.
Yeah, as long as Google's been around.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean that it's not a profitable business to be in. There's just, because Google changes so much, there's so much opportunity.
Yeah.
And the way I like to think about it, if there's a problem still, then there's an opportunity to be solved.
Right.
So it's not saturated until everyone's good, and everyone's not good.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's one misconception. So whether it's, another service, or whether you're doing something that someone's already done, or someone's already beat you to market, it doesn't have to be unique. If you could just, sometimes what needs to be unique is the person. That's it.
That's
right?
a big element, yeah.
So, for me, I play on, being Asian and connecting with my community, and I build it that way. Sometimes people just, the people that need the problem solved, maybe they're just looking for someone like you. And so you don't need a unique idea. You just need to sometimes just be yourself.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of forget that because we're so nowadays where you have access to strategies and methods of building a business, we forget that big element, which is the persona, the person.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good point to make.
Yeah, and sometimes too, it's not always about working harder. Sometimes about being, how to be strategic, because the definition of strategy is the alternative use of limited resources. So you have limited time, you have limited money. And so a misconception is just, I just got to be persistent, and I just got to work really hard. Sometimes that's not the answer.
Sometimes it doesn't work, just hitting a brick wall, right?
Yeah, so I could cold call people 24 hours a day. I'm working really hard, doesn't necessarily mean making a return on my investment. And so what I do personally is I identify people who would be good referral partners. People are called rainmakers. So if you just make one great relationship, they'll send you all the business. Once they trust you, that's what happened. I have several rainmakers that, they're sending me thousands of dollars of business. Tens of thousands of dollars of business. Was I cold calling every day? Was I working incredibly hard? I was focusing on the right things and being strategic, because again, it's alternative use of limited resources.
Yeah, it's very good advice too. It's awesome. So final question: do you have any tips for people that are thinking of starting their own business or venture? I know we already gave a lot, but what would be your biggest key point that you would have for people that are trying to start their own venture, whether it's in creative content creation, or it's artists, or it's just entrepreneurial businesses? What would be the biggest tip that you
The biggest tip I could give someone, let's see. Well, so the biggest tip that I would give someone is I would continue to ask. Let me just always try to find better questions to ask. That's the tip I would give someone.
Okay.
Because the key to success is it's literally about the question.
Yeah.
And so what I always do is I always try to come up with better and better questions. And so so I was actually going through this exercise with my sister the other day, because we sent each other 3 questions, positive questions back and forth.
Okay.
And so I remember when I first started way back, because I've done this exercise before.
Yeah.
I'd ask questions like, why isn't life going the right way for me?
Yeah.
That was the question.
Yeah.
And it was a signal as to my level of consciousness, or where I was at in my life.
Yeah.
But if you continue to ask better and better questions, nowadays my question is like, how can I train someone to do what I'm doing so I have more time to make more money? It's kind of hard to explain, but it's all about the questions. How can you improve something? How do you do it better? And also asking really intelligent people, what questions should you ask?
So do you have like a network of intelligent people around you that you stay close connected to?
I do.
Advice? Yeah.
I do. And so, I have mentors who are, trailblazing military generals, people who have been advisors to presidents, people who have made millions of dollars and don't say nothing about it, people who have overcome the biggest adversities, who've been blind and have still trailblazed in their community. And so I think also one of the things that I do is I just make sure to I make sure to listen, I make sure to be likable, I always try to be present with a lot of these people and build relationships with them. Because then I can ask them questions and they're more willing to help.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so it's your network is your net worth.
Oh,
it's true, and I make sure to take care of my network and genuinely care about, not just because they're raven. I genuinely care.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for giving us all this golden nuggets. I'm sure a lot of people can take a lot away from this episode. And how can we get connected with you? What's your main space in terms of social media?
Sure, yeah, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. If you want to look me up on Facebook, it's just John Victoria. Instagram, it's John Vic, JOHN_VICK.
Yeah.
Then I also have, Snapchat for more of the
more close connect. Yeah.
But anyone can reach out to me, and also you can just go to my website, polianna.net, Polianna.net. We're going through a website rebrand right now. It's literally about to launch within the next week or 2.
Oh, nice.
So
exciting.
super excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to chat, always happy to share advice, because I think that it's important to build into the next generation of entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.